Welcome back, everybody. Episode 78 of Canes Local. Today, we'll look at injuries, young players, and around the league, and much more coming up next. All right, guys. Those watching notice we got a new member on the podcast today. You know, Kyle's a little bit distracted right now with coaching. I shouldn't say distracted; probably the wrong word to use. But he's got responsibilities outside of the podcast today, and so we've asked a longtime friend of mine, I think former D-partner for many years, through youth, high school, and so on, Mr. Mike Duffy from the great North Country of upstate New York, to join us and talk about, well, he doesn't have much, maybe not much to say on the Canes, but a lot of stuff to introduce around the league, and, big Canadiens fan. So it's always fun to have a different perspective on the team. So, welcome, Mike. It's good to have you.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Appreciate it. It gets dry just with me and the old man sometimes, so I appreciate a new voice,
Yeah, we tend to ramble a little bit too, and we tend to agree with each other a little bit too much.
Yeah, that's probably the problem.
So it's always good to have somebody that's going to counterpoint us a little bit more. So I think we'll start talking about, the Canes at the moment. If I were to tell you at the beginning of the season that we'd be 13 games into the season, missing arguably four of our best players, our best defensemen, at least two anyway, 2 to 3 defensemen, and forwards, that we'd be 9-4. I tell you, you're absolutely crazy. So I don't know where, it really goes to show the depth of where we are as a program. I know we have a former Canadian that you have a high opinion of, Mike, but I think honestly he's been playing actually pretty well now. I think he's maturing a little bit. I think when he was with you guys, that was a tough spot for him, and I think he got put into a spot that he was not at all ready for. He should have played in the minors for at least a year or two, but they brought him in way too early. So I like the way that our team looks, their depth wise. And it really, that's what's coming to the forefront. So when we get those guys back, look out. I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun now to watch them. I mean, it'd be a 500 team, honestly, with most other organizations. So I'm surprised at where they're at currently. I know the Western Road Swing, I'm surprised they came out of that as good as they did. I think they were 4-2.
They were 4-2. Yeah, 4-2. Yeah.
They played. Granted, 2 of those games were against teams that weren't the greatest, but still, they.
Yeah, but look at them now, though. I know. Got Anaheim. I would have not pictured Anaheim where they're at.
Yeah,
today.
I know, me either.
And we'll talk when we get to the around the league stuff. We'll talk about guys like that, but let's not discount those wins either.
Yeah, I agree. So. That's a good point. So,
I didn't realize you guys were missing up to 4. I knew you were missing Slavin, and I agree with you. I think it's really a testament to Brennamore and the style that you guys employ. And obviously, we'll touch on my former have in the future here, because I do have an opinion, but I agree with your initial assessment, no doubt.
Yeah. So, and goaltending, and we've gotten actually good goaltending, which is, really, and
surprising.
And I guess it's really surprising. We knew Freddie was good, and he could play good if he was healthy, and he was consistent, and he didn't have to play a lot. That's the whole thing. It's always been the kick on Freddie is if he plays a lot, he gets hurt. And where the hell did did Bussi come from? I mean,
I
just
don't
like
know.
he's a waiver wire pickup that's playing like a not a number one, but man, he is as good a number 1A as you're going to find the way he's playing right now. So, really, a cool scenario for us to have 3 goaltenders. And then Kochetkov comes in against the Rangers and just was absolutely ecstatic.
He always plays well at MSG, though. He's
he was
always
stellar.
played well there.
Lights out.
Of course, the Rangers can't score at MSG.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. That is a good point.
How do you go almost undefeated on the road, and then you're sort of can't win at home? That just makes absolutely no sense. I mean, that was the Canes from 2 years ago, and but that was just a flip flop. You couldn't lose at home, and we couldn't win on the road. So.
Yep, exactly. It's wild. No, it's like I said, it's going to be a long season. So, and they just sent who was it? Nadeau just got reassigned back to the Wolves. So it's either they're going to recall Giovanni Smith, who I think has finally got his paperwork good at this point. So it's either him or Robinson's coming back. So
yeah, he's skating on Wednesday. You said in a yellow jersey, so that's
yellow.
I mean, that's a good sign. So maybe
hopefully.
or maybe not, but I thought Nadeau's been pretty good though. I mean, or Nadeau or whatever you want to call him. I get just like Nikishin, who the the enunciations we're gonna screw it up no matter what we do. But he's actually played really well. I thought the last 2 games has been his best 2 games so far as Hurricane.
Yeah,
and and again he's playing alongside KK and Jankowski.
Mark
I think
Jankowski,
having Jankowski in the middle though I think is better. I think having KK on the wing is actually better for him because it eliminates some of that responsibility down the center of the ice, and it gives him the ability to just pound on the wall. Because KK is a big kid. I mean, he's a big guy, and so you give him that opportunity to win those board battles, and he can do it, and not have the responsibility down the middle of the ice. So I'm excited to see Nadeau because I think he's going to be really long term. They're talking about there's trade rumors out there to get Panarin in for him and first round, and I'm like,
God, I hope not.
There's no way. Why would I give up a prospect and a first for a 36-year-old winger that's at the end of his career? There's no way I'm doing that. So
no.
But again, I'm not Tulski, so he's going to do what he's going to do. So
yeah, no, it's been and I'm trying to remember, like, for me, I think, and I'll kind of transition here, I guess, into the Kotkaniemi stuff, but I'm at the point where if he's going to play wing on the 4th line and we need centers, like, what are we doing? Like, that's a pretty big contract for a 4th line winger. So I'm all for at this point, because I think if Robinson comes back, like, who's getting scratched? Actually, when Carrier comes back, who's getting scratched? It's probably Kotkaniemi. So
it's probably it's either KK or Jankowski.
Paying a guy over $4 million to get scratched, like, that's crazy. Like, you might as well either buy him out or trade him. Honestly, if you're not going to use him down the middle.
Especially when you know that it was probably the owner that encouraged the signing.
Probably.
Yeah, he was, he was, and he was a very big part of that early on stuff, and it was I think it was a sort of a payback for them going after Aho the year before or 2 years.
That's
before.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So
100%.
So he's gonna he's kind of a man with a lot of money that's gonna throw it around and just do what the hell he wants to do, and But I mean, I agree with you, Cam. I think he's way overpaid to play in the 4th line, but I do think he's evolved since he's been here. I think he's on Rod's short list of guys that are going to be in or out of the lineup, and Rod doesn't have a hesitation of taking him out. But he keeps his head down and he keeps working hard. I mean, that's you always see him smiling. He never seems to be out of sorts. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. I don't know, but but I agree that if we're looking for depth down the middle, we can afford to. I mean, because on another team that's struggling, he's getting top 6 minutes. So
on a struggling team, he's a top 6 player on another team.
And I think that's how he ended up in Montreal with the 3rd overall pick, because there was a need for a big center, and it didn't make sense to pick him there, but there was a need for a center, and Montreal chose him. But I agree with you. I don't think paying him that money and not having him play center is good for the Canes. And you feel for the kid.
Yeah.
I feel for the kid because I think he does have the tools, and maybe you guys would know more than I do. Does he fit into Brendamore's style?
When he wants to.
When he wants to, yeah. Because his problem is just it's consistency. You know, he's just he's not consistently the same player. Like when you talk about a guy like, and I'm really stretching on the comparison here, but when you talk about a guy like Jordan Staal, you talk about a guy like, you know, we'll talk about those guys that are, you know, what you're going to get every single game, every single shift. But with KK, you don't know from shift to shift what you're going to get. And, you know, trust is a big thing with Rod. And I guess it is with any coach is trust. And if you don't have it, man, it's really tough to stay in good graces with a head coach, especially in the NHL.
Yeah.
You know, because you're a pro, you're getting paid big bucks, you got to deliver. And he's just not gotten to that consistency. That's why obviously he's on the fourth line. And, so we'll kind of, since we've segued off from a little bit of the Canes chatter, we'll kind of spin around the league. But I really, you said a few minutes ago that, you know, that's the reason Montreal went after him for the third overall pick. I mean, I'm impressed. I don't know what they're doing or how they're doing it, but Montreal has sort of taken a script out of, you know, some of the, you know, we're getting the right coach, getting the right players, training them the right way, and not forcing the issue. I think they forced the issue with KK. I agree with you 100%. But I think they've taken a step back and they've maybe, I don't know if Marty's had an influence on that or not, but I think from the standpoint of that, they've really turned the corner. And I'll be quite honest, 100%. Would I have said that Montreal would be leading the Atlantic at this point of the season? I would not have said it. I would, and look at the top three. I mean, you got Montreal, you got Pittsburgh, and then I think the Bruins. I would not have had that as your top three in the Atlantic.
Agreed.
That, you know, so, you know, kudos to Marty. I mean, he's a good coach. I mean, he really is. He's a player's coach. He knows how to read players, and but do you see them contending at this point now, or are they still a season or two away from contending with the goaltending they have with Montembeault? Can he be you know, a deep run playoff goalie? Can the D-core, you know, match the intensity of and I won't use Florida this year because they're not where they were last year, but a Florida like team or a Vegas like team, can they contend with teams like that coming out of the West?
Well, I think that we'd all agree here that unfortunately in the NHL, you really do have two seasons. You've got the regular and you've got the playoffs, and you have to have a team that can play in both of those seasons. I mean, I think Toronto's a prime example. I mean, they're great. They've been a great regular season team. I attribute it to watching men's hockey sometimes. You know, you got these guys that they can light it up, but 110 points, and then you get to the playoffs when you need those heavy bodies, and you need the corner work, and you need the guys willing to block shots, and it doesn't transfer to the playoffs. I think they can contend, but I don't feel that Montreal is built for the playoffs yet. And I don't, we brought up the goaltending. I don't think the goaltending is where it needs to be either. But they've done a phenomenal job, and I love to listen to Marty St. Louis speak, because I feel like he talks like there's not many coaches that speak like him in the NHL. You listen to the message, and I really enjoy him.
Yeah, I agree. Coach. Yeah, he's good. He's getting the most out of the young players, and you got some really good young players up there. I mean, you know, Lane Hudson, I swear, I mean, he's going to be electric for years and years to come. And it's fun to watch him play. And just all the younger players. Suzuki's good, and you got some veteran guys too, but to really see what they're doing with a younger core like that, is it says a lot for what they're doing and the longevity of what's going to come for that program, for that team, is what's really exciting. But I agree that I'm not sold on Montembeault. I think he can be good, but he can also be an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So, but again, we got one of those too,
right?
Yeah.
We got Freddie. Freddie can
100%.
be absolutely electric, but he gets a little tweak and he's an absolute dumpster fire. I mean, look at the game. I'm going to date the
last
podcast
game.
here, but the other night, the last game, I mean, in the first 10 minutes of the hockey game against Minnesota, it was 4-3. We were winning 4-3.
He let in 3 goals on 4 shots.
3 goals on 4 shots. So
yeah, it's like
you talk about a 33 save percentage. I mean, that just doesn't, you can't do it. But that's what he is.
Yep.
However, he locked in after that, and big hit on Chatfield. Jordan Stahl fights, and then the whole shift changes. The whole momentum changes, and Freddie was lights out from there. So that's maybe a little different. I haven't watched enough of Montreal to have an opinion one way or the other. But for the Canadiens to be good, as young as they are, they have to have a goalie that's going to steal them games.
Yeah,
and
maybe
he may not be there yet, but I hope they are. Hey, growing up I'm still a Canadiens fan. I still love to see them do well. But I've been around this bunch of guys for a long time, and as well, and I love what Rod's doing here, and I think it's really exciting to watch. But again, I like what Marty's doing in Montreal. I like what a lot of teams are doing that that are surprising. We'll talk about that. Let's jump into that now. Like, what team? I think we mentioned 3 of them. What other team are sort of the surprises on the good side when it comes to where they are in the season? I mean, I got a couple of them other than the 2 that we talked about, but I'll start with you guys. Who's the sort of one team that you're scratching your head saying, where the heck did they come from based on where they were predicted to come out at the start of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's really the Penguins. Like, I don't know, because they didn't really change their roster. Like, their roster's pretty much the same as it was last year, and they're 9-4. Like, are they just getting better goaltending? Like, I honestly haven't watched the Penguins game this year, but I mean, they're number 1 power play in the league at this point, so that doesn't hurt.
You hit it square in the head. I think it's their power play. Their penalty kill is in the top 10. The problem with the Penguins, here's the problem, is that that'll only sustain you so long. Is your 5-on-5 play has to be better.
Yeah.
So if you don't have good 5-on-5 play and you're relying solely on your special teams, you're going to go a game where there's not going to be a penalty. So you got to be able to figure out the 5-on-5 play. So I think that's my pushback on Pittsburgh. I think it's short-lived. But again, maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to see Sid have another good year. Not at our expense, but I'd like to see him have another good year at somebody else's expense. So we'll kind of go from there. But I agree. Pittsburgh, they're sort of oh my, where'd that come from for me too as well. So.
And I've got to Cam. That's who I was going to say as well. I think, especially here in Montreal, the talk into the season, early in the season, is that trade deadline day, we're going to see Sidney Crosby in Montreal. So there's been a lot of chatter, and I was trying to look on my phone. I can't get it up, but it stuck out to me the other day. I was looking at the NHL stats, and I want to say that Crosby now has to be at 11 or 12 goals. He's got to be close to leading the league right now. And Malkin's point total is up as well. Mm-hmm. So for a team, all the chatter was they're going to be dumping at the deadline. Maybe these guys as well. They've got some professional pride, and it seems like they're really bringing it. I haven't watched them. I don't know how Carlson's playing. Obviously, he must be playing well, but they've been a big surprise, and then in Boston as well. I didn't expect Boston to be where they're at.
Yeah, no, I didn't either, and nor did Kyle or he lives up in that area, and his girlfriend's a huge Bruins fan, and they had no expectation that this was actually going to happen. I mean, they started out, Stern with a new coach, and he was introduced, and you kind of expected it though, because he's implementing a new system, much more defensively responsible than it was under the previous coach. So, maybe that's starting to show it come to fruition. Pasta's still a great player. I mean, McAvoy's still a great player. I mean, Swayman's a great goaltender. I mean, so all those pieces are now seems to be coming together. So,
and this geeky kid is scoring. I don't know much about him, but
hey, just to get you to know, he's a former Cane. So,
he is.
Canes draft pick.
There you
that's
go.
the reason he's so good.
There you go.
He was drafted by Ronnie Francis when he was back in his days, trying to manage. I'll call it the soup kitchen we had as far as a ownership group back then. I mean, this was pre Tom Dundon, so this was back in the
penny
this
pinching.
was back in the
just trying to get above the floor so that we don't get a fine.
Yeah, just trying to be enough above the floor where the guy can use it as a write-off in whatever other business he was doing.
Pretty much.
That's sort of the way it felt here anyway. So there was no. I mean, 2006 I think was not an anomaly, but I think it was an anomaly.
Yeah,
The things were lined in our direction. Not because we spent a lot of money, but we got lucky. Had players go down and get hurt from the other team. We had a lot of things that happened that led us in the right direction. So,
yeah, it's Crosby and Cutter Gauthier that are leading. They're tied for first in the NHL with 11 goals each.
Well,
so
Gautier's up there now. He's the kid from Philly, right? Is he the kid that didn't want to play in Philly?
Yeah. He's then Anaheim was my team. They're the ones that sort of I'm a little bit shocked on because, they changed. I think they changed coaches this year.
Yes.
Or do they still have?
It was like the middle. I think it was the middle of last year.
Middle of last year.
Middle to end of last year. That other coach they had he needed to go.
Greg
we
Cronin
talked about that
or whatever.
Yeah, Cronin. He was
like a statue and
a
kind of like an old. Who's the guy? Who was the guy from Calgary? Daryl Sutter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like an old grindy, just nasty. I don't give a shit kind of about my players. Let's just do this, do that, do it my way, so to speak. So
now they got a multiple cup winner behind the bench in Q. So I mean, like I said, the coaching makes a huge difference, and I think that's where a lot of these teams get into problems. Is that even when you have a down year or two, if you know the coach is good, like don't just can him and hire somebody else. Like I feel like Chicago's gotten into that. They've started to kind of do that, and that's kind of where I tip the cap to Montreal is like they've stuck with St. Louis for a long time, like through some pretty interesting ups and downs, and they stuck with him because they know he's a good coach, and they knew if they built a good team, he'd built the culture. So, and that's what you need. That's why Rod's been around so long. That's why Rod's been with Carolina so long, is because he builds the culture around the team. So, yeah, I think Q's doing a good job out in Anaheim, and Gauthier is going to be. I mean, I thought he'd be a 25 to 30 goal scorer. I think he's probably going to be 40 plus at this point. Like he's going to be, if he's already this good, he's only going to get better.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and they got some good. I mean, they got Leo Carlson. They got some good depth on. They got some good veteran defensemen there too. And let's not lose sight of Dostal, their goaltender. I mean, they got rid of John Gibson, rightfully so. Dostal needs a lot of sort of line time. He needs to get in there and play. He doesn't need to be sitting on the bench. So Anaheim's they're progressing to be in maybe a year or two, not quite yet, I don't think, but I think they'll make the playoffs. But as far as being a contender, I think they're probably a year or two away from, being at the likes of Colorado and Vegas. And I think give them a little bit more time to mature, then they'll be right there. But, getting rid of Zegras, I mean, everybody was like, oh my God, Zegras is going, so what?
Right.
I mean, Zegras is just he's a flashy, I call him, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but he's a roller player that just happens to play ice hockey, and he does a lot of tricks. He's more of a trickster. He should be a YouTuber because he just does he likes to do a lot of tricky stuff. And again, in the right team, maybe he's in a team with a little bit more structure or with a little bit more free flowing. I don't know if Talk's going to do that in Philly, but he's playing well under Talk. So it just takes the right coach, the right scenario, to bring out the best in any player. So
yeah, I think he would have done well under Q. I just think
I do too.
I think Cronin's an awful coach. So I'm glad that Anaheim got rid of him because obviously it shows they have the team. And I honestly, they're kind of going to be a really sneaky pick. I think they can win a round of playoffs this year. They have a lot of veteran guys that have been, especially the former Rangers. I mean, they got Trouba, they got Kreider.
Yeah.
You know those guys show up in the playoffs. So, and I think a lot of Dostal as well. I kind of wish at some point Carolina would have tried to go after him when it was kind of a question between him and Gibson at that point. But yeah, I mean, at this point, Dostal's gonna be there forever. So I just, they're my sneaky team. I could see them winning a round of playoffs for sure because they got a lot of veteran guys that could do it. I mean, they got Gudas there too. Radko went to the Cup final with Florida the first year. So
damn lumberjack! I forgot he was out there. Holy smokes!
Yeah, he's their captain,
making sure everybody keeps their head up.
Yeah,
exactly.
No kidding. Yeah, he's run over a few Hurricanes in his past. That's for damn sure when he played in Florida. So.
Doesn't discriminate.
No, he absolutely does not. It doesn't matter if you're Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, or a fourth line winger. So he'll run you over no matter what it takes. So let's take a step away from, I guess, around the league at this point, and a couple of milestones this week that I thought were pretty impressive, pretty cool. And just to hear the player chatter around some of them was really, I guess, really great. So Ovi with 900. I mean, that's just ridiculous in this day and age. I think he's. I don't know that anybody will break that. Maybe, but maybe McDavid. I even think McDavid. McDavid, he'll be the closest one to getting to Gretzky's point total, I think, than anybody. But I don't think he's going to ever break the goal because he's still a goal scorer, but he's also a really good playmaker. And Ovi's 900 goals. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, that's impressive. Especially, he's a Washington Capital. He's been a thorn. The Capital's been a thorn in the side of the Canes forever. And, but you gotta tip your cap to the guy. To be around as long as he has and to have 900 goals, that's pretty damn impressive. And, so I'm not sure if anybody will touch it, but who knows? But if they do, that great. Then the league is going in the right direction. Or the goaltenders are getting worse. So one of the two is happening. But good to Ovi. And then home cooking is Stahl. He just recorded his 910th game as a Hurricane. So that he just surpassed his brother as the longest reigning games played for a Hurricane. So couldn't happen to a nicer guy. The guy's a super dude. He's good in the community. He's always out there. Guy that I work for, sort of his neighbor, and he can't be a nicer guy. And I think he's humble, because they asked him, when did you become captain? He honestly couldn't remember. So he was like, I don't know. I just was the captain. He said, I've been the captain. He said, I don't know when it started. And so some guys know when they put the C on their chest. They just, it's less about him, more about everybody else. And I think that's the most important piece. So, that's all I came across this week as far as milestones. So I wanted to make sure we got that out because I know we've missed some in the past. But for you guys, any other of these records do you think are going to be broken when it comes to points, assists, goalie for wins, shutouts, anything along those lines? Because I think Marty Berger holds both for goalies. I think he wins and shutouts. But in this day and age, do you see anybody else, taking a sniff at those numbers? Any of the new goalies coming into the league, are they going to, have a chance at taking a shot at breaking those records?
I don't know. I think the more I think about it, I'm struggling to see where the goal record and the point record, I just think the goalies are too good. Like, they're just getting too good at this point to, unless they start putting restrictions on like the equipment that the goalies can wear, like heavy restrictions, like where the pads have to be thinner or the glove can only be a certain, circumference when it's open. Like, if they start really trying to handcuff the goalies just to make the league, just to make it like every game like 8-6 kind of thing, then I don't really see it. I just think the goalies are too good. The players are obviously getting better along with the goalies, but the problem is just, the goalies have a little bit of an advantage at this point. So, I mean, because the players have to pick specific corners now, like within like the size of the puck.
Yeah.
So I just don't. I don't see them being broke. None of the goal points ones.
Yeah, they need to go back to the get everybody issued a set of Kenny Dryden set pads and gloves and stick size, and I think I agree with you, Cam. I think that the goaltending is. They take up a lot more room. There's, I don't know if you guys ever saw this commercial, but it's like a insurance commercial where this big fat walrus comes in and sits in front of the net. So that's sort of what it feels like when you're shooting on net. There's like literally no room. So, but I agree. I think that's going to be tough on the point side. I think where maybe it's makes it a little bit easier on the goaltending side to achieve the Marty record. Maybe or maybe not. I don't know.
It's and the goalies are bigger. I mean, not even counting equipment. Kids, Jacob Dabic with the Canadiens, I think he's 6'5" or 6'7". He's huge. Kid's huge.
Yeah, and that's the way. We have six. Like Freddie's 6'3", Kochetkov I think is 6'3" as well, and then the Bussi. I think Bussi's 6'4" or 6'5". He's up there too. So you're 100% right. There's no more. Back in the day, little goaltenders. Like. I'm Darren Pang and I'm going to really go deep on this one. It was like little Bob Sauvé at the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, he was just about over the crossbar, so you don't have that much anymore.
Oh.
And then those guys are like that. They have to be incredibly athletic and unique, and they just can't afford not to be. So, but you can't coach size. I think somebody told me that one time. You can't coach size. You can coach skill, but you can't coach size. So, unfortunately, the big goaltenders are the wave of the way it's going now, and I don't see that changing.
Thinking out loud, I think that 75% of the teams are going with a 1 and 1A. Right? There's not a lot of teams that have a real firm number one that's playing 65 games a year anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, there goes to your point, though. Then maybe that win record is pretty much solidified, because they don't do that. Because back in the day, back in the old days, I mean, hell, Waugh was playing 76, well, not 70, but probably 60 to 62 games a year.
Probably close to 70 if he wasn't hurt. Yeah,
and they just played, and I don't know if it was, I don't know. It's really strange though that goaltenders now get hurt more often than they used to in the past. Maybe it's a style of play. Maybe it's the bigger equipment. Maybe it's just a lot of different things. But you're right. The goalies don't play, and we have the scenario here where there's no way in the world Freddie Andersen could play 60 games.
No way.
He couldn't do it.
No.
I mean, he would be a pile of mush, like an ice sculpture at the end of the season. He'd be just in a puddle right in front of the net, and that would be it. So, so maybe that's the case. We won't break that record.
And I think it's style of play. I think we could all agree on. I don't watch a ton of games anymore, but every game that I've watched this year, there's a play on either team that I'm watching. The skill level I feel is higher than I've ever seen it in the NHL. It's just amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm really pleased with the skill level.
Yeah, what's even more impressive too is the skill level of the defenseman.
Yeah,
I mean that really has taken another level. I mean, back in the day, I mean, you had the Bobby Orrs of the world, and back in the day you had some good puck moving defensemen, but man, not like you have today. I mean, you look at, I got to see the Minnesota game, and that Zeev Bouillon, he is a Cale Makar in the making when
Yeah.
it comes from Minnesota. You know, they got Brock Faber, who lined up alongside Jacob Slavin in the Four Nations, and I thought was exceptionally good. But you know, that's what's the difference, I think, too, is that defensemen, you don't have three forwards anymore. You have five. And in some cases you have, you know, defensemen that jump into the rush. And so I think that you're 100% right. There's just so much misdirection in the league anymore as far as, you know, plays, movement. It's not north and south. It's a lot of north and south, east to west.
Yeah.
You get the goalies moving from side to side more so than they are ever. So, yeah, I agree. I think, you know, I hadn't thought about it that way, but the style of play really does dictate the movement side to side, the lateral movement the goalies have to do these days, and the change of direction. I mean, every time I see a play, some plays, I'm like, I pull my groin just watching them.
It's sure.
You know, it's like how did they do that? You know, and you know, so it's a fun game to watch. You know, we made some line shifts, and some of the you're 100% right. Some of the skill. I mean, we got one line I'll talk about, and I jump back to the Canes a little bit, but we made a shift. And Cam, you're right. Rod must have been listening to our phone call, because he made almost the exact same shift that we told him he should make. And but I think the second line, I thought the second line move was the better of the bunch. I think putting Jarvis on the top line, 100% needs to be there. Hall is not a first line winger anymore.
Nope.
He needs to be a third line winger. And no fault of his own, but he's getting older and he doesn't have the step anymore.
Yeah, you can't play 18 minutes a night. He's good for 12, 13.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So, but I think moving Ehlers to the second line with Stankoven and Blake, I think that line was unbelievably good. The motion, I mean, you talk about misdirection, Mike. There's a couple of, I'll see if I can find the videos and send them to you. But there was a couple of plays where I don't know where Minnesota was, but they were just like, you know, the old top when you push the button and it just spins and sparks in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were just doing that because these guys were all over the place.
Buzzing.
And I tell you, I've been touting this kid for a long time, and they were all talking he was going to be trade bait, but Jackson Blake, by far, one of the shiftiest, if not the shiftiest player in the NHL. He can get in and out of traffic and come out with the puck. There'd be 10 guys on the wall. Everybody would be on the wall, and he'll come out with the puck every single time. And he'll make a play. If there's a stat out there for a player that can make a play out of nothing, I think he would be leading the league by a country mile. And again, I'm saying that in a vacuum because I don't see a lot of players outside. I don't watch a ton of games outside of the Hurricanes, but I would be a betting man, even though I did not see those games, that I would be hard pressed to find another player that plays that good in tight. Maybe a couple of years ago, maybe Teravainen was kind of like that, but I think Jackson Blake he's going to be the real deal. And I think that long-term signing, we're going to see a lot of value out of that for what we paid for him, you know, as we go down the road. So, sorry to jump back onto the Hurricanes, but that one just popped into my head, and I had to get it out there because I thought he had an exceptional game. He's had an exceptional season so far.
Lots of names I'll have to keep an eye on because I'll be honest, I'm not familiar. I've heard the name, but I have not. I can't envision the play. But you mentioned Nikolai Ehlers, and that was somebody that I wanted to bring up with you guys. I saw the points aren't there, but how's the play?
I think the play's been good. I mean, he's been making plays. I mean, he's probably he's been on the assist board more than not. He's created plays that led to goals. May not have gotten I'll call him the third assist. But I think he's still learning a new system.
Right.
That's always the hard part.
Yep.
And but he got that monkey off his back, and again, putting him alongside Aho, that's a little tough because I think Ehlers was trying to be a playmaker too, and Aho is a playmaker. He's not a natural goal scorer. So I think they started to try to make too many plays and not enough shot attempts.
Yeah.
So putting him on a line with a guy like Blake, who he's a shooter by nature. He just wants to shoot the puck. So it frees up Ehlers to do what he's going to do, and it gives him the opportunity. I think Blake and Stankoven are a perfect match for Ehlers. It's a small line. I'm not going to say they're big, but they're dynamic, and I think Ehlers really elevates that. He adds some veteran leadership to that line because let's not forget Stankoven's 22,
Blake's 22.
Blake's 22. So Ehlers is the old man on that line, and I think that's going to help those guys.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think they had Taylor Hall at the beginning of the season, but again, I don't think Hall has a speed to match them.
No.
And I think, putting Ehlers on that line really, it's going to, having him score is going to elevate his game, and it's going to take the monkey off his back. It's going to, allow him to kind of freewheel a little bit more than he did. So all in all, everybody that I talked to sort of at the office and throughout the, community that we talked to on the hockey world, they're not surprised that he's limited his point production at this point. But we all know that he's got it in him, and we see it, and I've seen it, and I'm not putting any discount on or any stock in him having limited points at this point in the season.
No, and I would think, like you said, he's adjusting to a new system. He obviously knows that Rod Brind'Amour is all about accountability, so that's on the back of the guy's mind as well.
Yep. So anyways, we'll look around a little bit on the week to come. So we'll take actually, before we go there, I'm gonna give you the mic here, Mike, for a second. But from an outsider's perspective, I don't think I asked you this earlier, so maybe if I did, I'm being a little bit redundant, but I'll cut it out. Around, being a non-Kane fan, from the standpoint of say a Montreal fan or from just a non-Kane fan, what is the perception of the Hurricanes in and amongst the competitive fan base or the other fan bases? Is it like, they're okay, they're good, they're predictable, what is the overall sense for the Hurricanes we'll say from a Montreal fan?
Well, I think from my perspective, I think when I look at the Hurricanes, I think of a team that number one, that you're going to have to fight for every goal you get. They're responsible. They're accountable. They're going to wait for you to make mistakes. I like to, and fear or not, I kind of put Brind'Amour and Jacques Lemaire, although Jacques played the trap. I think they're very similar styles. So and the Devils are great today. I mean, you knew when Jacques Lemaire's Devils were coming to town that you were going to have to really earn the 2 points. If you wanted 2 points, you were going to earn it. And I think that when you circle the Hurricanes on your schedule, unless they have an off night, that you're going to have to work for the 2 points. I think you've got a lot more offensive tools and talent than those Devil teams did, but your guys are very responsible, and they've obviously built into Brind'Amour's philosophy in the system, and it works, right? I mean, it certainly works.
Yep.
And I think that you're built for both seasons. You're built for regular, and you're built for playoffs. And it's funny, I didn't jump in when you brought up Ovechkin, but I've got a funny Ovechkin story that we can touch on after. But the 2 seasons are really, really important to have that balance on your team, and I think the Hurricanes have that. And the Maple Leafs, I mean, I always go back to them because I just have a strong dislike for Toronto, but they're just not built for the playoffs. And now you can't replace Mitch Marner's 100 points. It's showing early in the season.
Yeah.
I predicted 5 to 10 losses, but it's going to be probably even more than that, losing that. But back to the Canes. I mean, you guys have a really strong foundation. You mentioned Jordan Stahl. I mean, there's a guy. How old is he now?
I think he's 36.
36. But I mean,
yeah.
When you brought him up, I hadn't thought about it much. But his brother Eric came to Montreal late in the season a few years ago during COVID when Montreal made their cup run, and was a real big part of that. And a great Western Canada farm family. Like you say, I obviously don't know them, but you hear a lot of great things about the Stahls. So, I mean, when he's your captain and your leader, I mean, stability. You've just got a lot of good pieces there, and it's got to be nice knowing the other thing with Brind'Amour and the Hurricanes is you guys know your season ticket holders. You go to games and you have those game nights where, and I'll refer to men's hockey. Some nights it's just like you can tell that the teams have played 3 games at 5 nights, and there's some stinkers, and I'm sure that you guys don't give away many points. You don't leave many points on the table.
We try not to, that's for sure.
And I think that's that can't be understated. There's a lot of teams that leave points on the table with stinkers, and you can't afford to do that.
No, not in this league. And again, that's why I go back to, I'll revert way back to the original statement I made, to say that we are down to basically our top 2 defensemen. And then we lose Gostisbehere, so we're down 3. Then we lose Carrier, we lose Robinson, 2 really bang wingers. They're just hard-nosed wingers on the 3rd and 4th line. We lose those guys on the road swing. For anybody to tell me we would be 9-4 and getting those points, it's exactly to your point. We get points when we shouldn't get them, and then we give ourselves the chance. It's almost like a goaltender making a good save. We get points when we need them. We get points when we shouldn't get them, and it gives us a chance to stay in the game to make the playoffs. And it's sort of like just like a goaltender. We got to have a goalie that's going to make a save when we need him to make a save, and when he shouldn't make a save, he's going to make one to keep us in the game and give us that chance. So, 100% agree with you. Is that we just find ways to get points, and kudos to, like I said, to Rod, because he does that. He gets the best out of him. And as much shit as we gave Tim Gleason as a player, I think he's a good defensive coach. I think he's really strong. He was one of those guys that we always, sort of pylon related when it was come to when he was on the ice as a player. We weren't really excited about him, but man, he gets the most out of his defensemen, and it's showing. And I tell you what, he's in charge of our penalty kill, and it's not as good as it was in previous years this year.
Well,
but man, that penalty kill's been good for years, and it's all been because of Tim Gleason.
Yeah, and it's missing a lot of the personnel on the D side, especially missing arguably our best penalty killer in Slavin, and now Chatfield's probably going to be out for a few weeks. Miller was out for a while, and he had been a good penalty killer. I mean, Ghost isn't a penalty killer, but still, him on the power play too, it hurts too. But I mean, just the injuries are just I don't remember a season where they've been just this early. I mean, we're only 15 games into the season.
Well, I'm kind of glad they're happening now if they're going to happen. I mean, I don't want them to happen in March, So that'd be a shit going into playoffs, to have all these. I mean, if you guys are out during playoffs, man, because you're right, Mike, the playoffs are a different animal. It's just the game gets heavier, it gets more physical, it gets more demanding. It's a grind, and tomorrow's game makes a difference. Whereas game 42 of the season doesn't necessarily make as big a difference in everybody's mind than game 3 or game 4 or game 5 of a playoff run.
Yeah.
So it's a huge difference, and the seasons are just. I don't give a shit if you finish 1st or you finish 8th. All I said to Cam and Kyle, I said, I just want to make sure that we make the second wild card. That's it.
Yep.
Because once you get in, you get in.
Got to punch your ticket.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, look at the Oilers the year that we won the cup. I mean, they were the 8th seed.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to be the 1st seed. You don't have to be the President's Trophy winner. You don't have to. You just have to get in. And then all bets are off, and then it goes to 0-0. Everybody's at 0-0 again. So,
I also think it should go back to that format where 1 plays the 8 seed, 2 plays the 7 seed.
I do too.
I hate this because because if one, like with the Atlantic, like the past 3 years, like who's beaten Florida? Like who's beating them? Like no one can, you can't match up against them. So it's hard to win a series, especially if you get matched up with them in the first round. Like, we give Tampa a lot of grief, but it's like, they lost to the Cup champs, even if it was the first round.
Yeah.
The same thing with the Devils. The Devils have been getting knocked out by the Canes for the past 5 years. And it's one of those where it's like, okay, but it's the Canes. Like if you were playing a different team, you might win a series or two. But I really think it should go back to the way it was with the old format, with the 1 playing the 8 and then 2 the 7 and then, the 3 the 5. I would like that. I'd like to see that again because I think it makes it worth getting up into the standings. It makes it worth finishing higher in the standings. Because right now, like you said, as long as you get in, you get in.
Yeah.
You might not have the home ice advantage, but you're still playing the teams you see, 8 times a year. So you know what you're getting up against.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that idea as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know this will never happen, but I think that even the 1 and 16 concept over the league wide.
Yep.
Let the
That'd be
best
interesting.
let the best teams get in. Let the 16 best teams get in, and then because how great would it be for the NHL to have a and I'll use this as a comparative because of the original 6, a Montreal Boston Stanley Cup final. How cool would it be to have that again, or
That's true. Yeah.
Chicago St. Louis, or Florida Tampa.
The Battle of California, like San Jose, Anaheim.
Why
like
not?
That being in the Cup final would be crazy.
Give the league the opportunity to do that, and I know it'll never happen. We're just 3 guys sitting around talking about hockey, but from a fan perspective, that would be for me. I don't care who plays who. It would just be best on best. Don't just limp into the playoffs, and then if a team in the Western Conference has a better record than you, so be it. And I think we've paired the schedule to where it's more realistic to do that because we play more of the Western Conference teams than we ever have in the past. So I think it's not going to be about, you don't play the same teams. Well, yeah, you do. Maybe not 100% 1 for 1, but maybe it's a 2 to 4, or maybe it's a 50 to, 1 to 2 ratio, or 1 to 1.5 ratio. So I would like to see something different. Again, I don't hate the existing system, but something different would be nice to see. So
reward performance.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Absolutely. So, so anyway, so let's, I guess we'll take our final spin. We're running into the final session of the show here with the last, let's say 5 minutes or so. So we'll take something we like to call the final shift. So we'll give one more take on a topic we either talked about or missed, and then we'll sign off and let everybody go on their way. So Mike, we'll start with you.
No, I brought up Obi, so obviously you can't discount. The guy can shoot the puck. The guy, I just love to see the enthusiasm to this day. Every time he scores a goal, he loves to score. And that you talked about, you can't teach size. You can't teach shooters, and you get goal scoring. You gotta love them. But prior to COVID, I had tickets and went up to Montreal. Brought Jody, my wife, up to see the Tap. So I was telling her, hey, we're going to keep an eye on, you got to watch number 8. I said, he's phenomenal, could shoot the puck. And so it was it was an instance of, I want to say Washington, I think this was game 3 in 5 nights. And it was pretty slow paced. And so she's watching, and Obi, he was going through the paces. He was hanging out at the red line, blue line. He was just really, really lazy. And I wasn't saying a word. And finally Jody said, geez, this guy's really lazy. You told me he was good. He's not moving out there. And lo and behold, I think he ended the night with 2 goals. But I got such a charge out of that Jody was watching him and picked up on the fact that he was not playing a 200-foot game, as we like to say.
Nope. And to top on that, I remember I don't know how many years ago it was, and I think I mentioned this to Cam the other day, but back in the day when he was when Bruce I think Boudreau was coaching the Capitals, he basically came in and Ovi did not have a defensive bone in his body.
No.
And Boudreau's wanted to change the way he played, and Ovi was resistant. So and he said, "Look, I don't care. You don't have to play a lick of defense." Said, "But you got to score 100 goals." Said, "You got to make sure you score at least 1.5 to 2 goals a game, in order for you not to play defense, because that's what it's going to take for us to win. Because we're going to have to win every game 8-6." And he said, because that's just the way it's going to be. So I think Ovi did introduce a little bit of defensive play into his game.
Yeah.
But man, it's Papa, man. He's old. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I couldn't imagine playing at that pace at his age. There's just no way. I mean, there is a way, but I agree with you. He's a freak. He's lazy. He just coasts. He's a cherry picker, but man, he can put the puck in the net. I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, no matter how you want to slice it, he can put the puck behind the goaltender in a heartbeat. So, but anyways, Cam, what's your you got a final one for us?
Yeah, I was looking, and I still can't believe that there's no team in the East that's below 500.
I know,
not one. And again,
that's
you
crazy.
Go back to if it was a 1 through 16, kind of the top 16 teams in the league, it'd probably be 13 teams from the East right now. I mean, there'd probably only be 3 or 4 teams from outside of that. So, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen. The East is so tight right now. I mean, from first place to last place is 4 points at this point? 5 points maybe? Yeah, it's crazy. Even Buffalo. I mean, they're even 500, which I can't believe. So
my I got 2. I was actually more of a question, Mike, for you. You sort of have a house divided when it comes to, you got, you Canadians, and then Riley's a Buffalo fan, and then Alex is a Boston fan. How is that, from because we're sort of all on the side of the Hurricanes, so we sort of don't have that house divided. What's the chatter like around the house when one team's doing better than the other?
Well, as we age, I don't give as much. I don't chirp as much as I used to. But I can tell you, I'm not getting much heat. The boys both appreciate the Canadiens and what they're doing. I feel for Riley with the Sabres. I root for the Sabres. We've been to games in Buffalo. Buffalo's a great town, great place to watch a game. A lot going on there. And then Boston, as we said, I mean they shocked us here. And Alex Paul, he likes to tease me that I live in the past, because he still says, "Well, you tell me how great Montreal is, but they have not won a cup since I've been born." So I've got nothing. I've got nothing for that.
Yeah, no, understood. Yeah. So, but to your point, Cam, I think that's was going to be my take as well, is that how well the Eastern Conference is doing right now. And teams like the teams that I pull for are the teams like the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, I don't think they have. I mean, I've not been a big Lindy Ruff fan. Never really have. But and I think they have a dumpster fire as a ownership group. So they're making hay without having, in my opinion, much in the way of a pull when it comes to, if they had a good coach like a Rod Brindamore or a Marty St. Louis or a Quinville or somebody that is a player's coach, because to be honest, I mean, we've talked about it earlier. We were, all three of us, we wanted Tage Thompson here. We were just saying, okay, what does the trade look like? Let's get him here. We can get a big second line center or even a first line center, move Aho to second, because we have a perfect second line center on our roster, and his name is Sebastian Aho. And so we needed a first line centerman. And so I think there's going to come a point, because I think Dahlin's out. He's left. He went home for a personal reason.
Yeah.
So I think that's for me. They're the team that's going to be. You're going to see if they don't start producing, you're going to see a mass exodus or demand for trades out of that team, and I hate it because I love Buffalo. I mean, they're here tonight. It's just I like a lot of their players. I don't necessarily like the way they play, but I like a lot of their players. And so it'll be interesting, to see what happens in the Eastern Conference, because to Cam, to your point, it's not sustainable for everybody to be over 500.
Somebody's going to fall out of the. Yeah,
somebody's got to fall out of it, and I sure as hell hope it's not us. But at the same time, if we keep dinging, players go down, then we may not. We may be on the outside looking in just as easily as anybody, based on the way everybody's playing. So anyways, we'll close there, unless anybody's got anything last minute ads. We'll bid everybody a goodbye from this show. So for Cam, Mike, special guest host, appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can do this again in the future. For Kyle, who's sort of we call him not our absentee ballot host, but he's taking care of the younger generation of hockey and making sure that we continue to grow this great sport. So until next time, for Mike, Cam, and myself, take care.